Hello everyone and welcome back to another Minecraft update video where we are going to learn about the Mounts of Mayhem drop, which will be the fourth and last drop of this year, 2025. We learned about the contents of this drop in today's Minecraft live event. You're going to see footage from that event in this video, but before we get to that, I've got two other things to cover first. Before this event, there was a lot of hype around rumors and leaks, talk of an aquatic update and possibly a new weapon, the spear. I didn't even cover that second one because I wanted all of you to not take these leaks too seriously, so you didn't get your hopes and expectations up just to be disappointed. But here's the thing, turns out that they were totally true. And we will see the details of all of this in just a moment. The other tiny bit of news that I have to share with you is that the copper drop has been given a release date. That is the 30th of September, which is a Tuesday, just 3 days away from now. You'll be able to get your hands on the Copper Age drop. And if for some reason you've missed all of the news about this drop and you want the details, you can check out the Minecraft Updates playlist. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future update videos like this one. So the next big Minecraft drop, known as the Mounts of Mayhem drop, is indeed aquatic themed, as you'll see in this introductory video right here. And I should point out that this was recorded on Bedrock edition of the game, and we know that because vibrant visuals are enabled, which is another key thing to mention. If you're scanning the video looking for potential new blocks and stuff, the shaders do make it look like there are slightly different textures and whatnot, but no new blocks are actually mentioned with all the features that were covered in the Minecraft Live event. And here we are seeing our first little hint at what this is going to be. That was a drowned strolling on by holding a Nautilus shell, which lines up with some of those leaks we covered in my previous update video, because this update has a new mob and it is called the Nautilus. That is it right there. It looks amazing, and just wait until you find out what this thing does. But first, let's pay attention to the beautiful animations it has and the awesome textures too. This thing looks fantastic, but you can also tame it using a pufferfish, which is used for water breathing potions, and it will tie some Minecraft logic together as we get new uses for this pufferfish item. One of those, of course, being Taming the Nautilus, which we are seeing right here. You can then equip it with a saddle, and check this out. It's an underwater transport mob. And when you're riding it, you will get the Breath of the Nautilus effect, which will freeze the oxygen meter so that you can breathe indefinitely underwater, not take damage and all of that good stuff. But this is an underwater vehicle, and it was actually inspired by the Happy Ghast in the Skies. So this is a way now to use a mob as a vehicle underwater so that you can engage with building and breaking blocks a lot easier than it is to do with the current system of swimming. It sounds like the Nautilus is going to be easy and intuitive to use. It was described as simply moving in the direction that your camera is pointing, which is the same system as the Happy Ghast. However, they didn't comment on how we park this mob to then break and place blocks, but obviously there'll be some sort of system for that. It also has another ability. I'm going to assume this probably comes with a cooldown, but you can dash and make the Nautilus move fast. And if you use this when you're going to the surface of the ocean, it is going to jump out of the water and then come back down into the water quite gracefully. However, they did hint that you don't want to land on land, so I'm going to assume this means the Nautilus likes being in water, and if it's out of water, it'll probably take damage and die. But something that can prevent it from taking damage is Nautilus Armor. Like other rideable mobs in this game, it is getting the armor treatment. We see diamond, we see bronze, we see gold. I'm assuming we're going to see iron and netherite, and maybe some other materials for this Nautilus armor too. Who knows, but it is going to have some armor. And it will also have a hostile mob variant known as the Zombie Nautilus. This has a greenish tint to it, some mossy green on its shell. It looks awesome. But it can also spawn with a drowned, and that drowned could also yield a trident. This could be a deadly combination because the Nautilus will actually charge at you, the player, and with that drowned sitting on top, hunting you with its trident, this could make for a menacing foe found down in the deep oceans. But I'll tell you what's not menacing. Baby Nautiluses, which can be made by breeding two Nautilus with a pufferfish, as you might expect. And that kind of ties into that lore again with the pufferfish now having more aquatic related uses. So you can get a bunch of Nautiluses together by luring them with the pufferfish, and then you can breed them and make baby pufferfishes. Pretty cool. I also observed the growing up particle effects. So like most baby mobs, you can probably use pufferfish to grow them up quicker. But it was in this particular bit of footage that it looked to me like the Nautilus is partially transparent. I don't think I'm wrong with that. So comment down below if you see it too. Doesn't it look like the Nautilus is slightly transparent here? Okay, now we move on to our next big feature, a new weapon, and you already know what this is if you've been following the leaks. It is indeed a spear, and it's a tiered weapon, meaning that you can craft it with iron, copper, diamond, netherite, and if we pay attention to the crafting recipe, it's just 2 sticks and an ingot. That is a rather cheap price to pay for what sounds like a very powerful weapon. It's described as a mounted combat weapon, meaning you would probably want to use this when you're on the back of a horse. Of course, a spear might conjure images of jousting, and they certainly use this as an example in the show. Now, I listened carefully to what the developers had to say multiple times because they described it as having 2 attacks. There is a jab and a charge attack, but they didn't actually go into details as to how the jab attack works. They did, however, talk about the charge attack, which does damage based on how fast you are moving. Of course, if you're in a boat or a horse or using an elytra, you'll be able to do even more damage than if you're standing still. The charge attack has a mechanism of being lowered to attack, so your spear is going to come down, and if you hit an opponent, it can do knockback, it can dismount them if they are riding an entity, and it will do damage. But after a while, it'll start to shake, and then it can only do damage, losing its ability for the knockback and dismount, which you'll have to use earlier on in the spear's phases of attack, because the last one is essentially it cooling down and needing to be reset. I believe it's this footage here where we can see the spear being armed, and then after a while it lowers down and starts to shake, which is the 3rd phase. The last thing we learned about the spear is that its heaviness is tied to what tier it is, so I'm going to assume that iron would be weaker and netherite would be stronger, but this means netherite heavier, so it's faster to arm because the heavy spear will come downwards quicker, but it's longer to reset because you have to bring the spear back up, so there's a little bit of logic behind it there. Now, what you're seeing next may not feel new. It's the zombie horse. It's actually been in the game for a long, long time. However, now it's available in survival mode. It can spawn in the world with a zombie on its back, and that zombie will be yielding a spear. Zombies can also spawn in the world holding spears too. But with this, we're bringing the zombie horse finally into survival. And what you're seeing next is some more footage, but it's part of the recap segment because those were all of the features. And then after that, they recapped it for us, as well as revealing the name of the next drop, which you know is the Mounts of Mayhem drop. It's coming out later this year, and if you would like to see some more footage of this drop, there is a section on the Minecraft channel that they called the Deep Dig, where developers and content creators played some challenges together in this new drop. So go check that out if you're interested. It's on the Minecraft channel. And the last thing to mention is they did confirm this will be coming to snapshots and previews soon, but how soon, we don't know. I would guess maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And if you want to see that covered, you should subscribe to the channel because I'll be covering it here. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed Minecraft Live, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.